Hi, I'm Carol Fenster, and today I'm making an old-fashioned cherry pie from my book, 1000 Gluten-Free Recipes. Follow the easy steps I'm going to show you, and you can make your own cherry pie. My version uses sour or tart red cherries because of their wonderful flavor. I make the pie crust dough in a food processor because it is so quick and thorough. Measuring flour correctly is critical when making something as delicate as pie crust. So check out my video on measuring flour at carolfenster.com. You know the dough is the right texture when it starts to gather on one side of the bowl. Another way to know if it's the right consistency is that it holds together into a smooth ball when you hold it in your hands and it doesn't crumble apart. Divide the dough into two 1-inch discs, wrap them in plastic to prevent drying out, and chill for 1 hour to meld the ingredients. Each disc makes one pie crust, in this case a top crust and a bottom crust for our cherry pie. After you take the chilled dough out of the refrigerator, knead it in your hands to warm it up and make it easier to roll. Then lay one disc on a sheet of heavy-duty plastic wrap, keeping the other disc wrapped until you're ready to roll it. A wet paper towel underneath the plastic wrap helps prevent slipping. Place a sheet of plastic wrap on top of the dough and roll the dough into a 10-inch circle with a rolling pin, moving the pin in a 360-degree circle to keep the dough round and at an even thickness. Sometimes the plastic wrap gets caught. When that happens, just straighten it out and keep on rolling until the crust measures 10 inches in diameter. Drape the crust over one hand and remove the top layer of plastic wrap with the other. Invert the crust onto the nonstick pie pan. I like nonstick pans because they brown the crust better than glass or other types of pans. Use your fingers to smooth the area where the sides meet the bottom of the pan. This makes for a prettier slice of pie because the dough is spread more evenly. Then peel off the remaining plastic wrap, slowly but carefully. If it resists, try removing it from the other side of the pan. Don't worry, it will come off. Trim the edges evenly with a knife or scissors so there is about a 1-inch overhang. Use some of the scraps to patch any areas that seem too thin. Just press the scraps into the pie crust with your fingers wherever the crust is torn or looks too thin. Roll the edges of the pie crust inward to get it ready for the top crust. Continue to patch any areas that need attention. Don't worry, once the pie is baked, you'll never know where the patches are. Add the cherry filling, which, by the way, I cooked ahead of time, so it's already thickened. Roll the top crust just like you did the bottom crust and peel off the top plastic wrap. The sweet rice flour in my recipe makes this crust so easy to handle. Center the top crust over the pie, plastic wrap side up, and let it settle down on the pie, and then carefully peel off the top plastic wrap. Trim off the edges to about a 1-inch overhang for a more uniform edge to get it ready to shape decoratively. We call this fluting. Press the edges of the two crusts together to prepare the edge for fluting. This is really more of a process of nudging and encouraging the dough rather than rolling, since it doesn't have the stretch and give of dough with gluten. Flute the edge by pressing two of your fingers on one side against one finger on the other side to make a decorative edge. Don't worry, there are many ways to flute, so do whatever works best for you. Your pie will be beautiful no matter what technique you use. Use a silicone pastry brush to brush the top crust with beaten egg white, or use a whole beaten egg for a shinier, prettier crust that browns nicely. Or use cream, half and half, or cow's milk if you can eat dairy. Make sure that you brush every part of the crust. Otherwise, it will brown unevenly and not look as pretty. Plus, brushing it with the pastry brush evens out some of the raggedy edges. Sprinkle the top with sugar for a prettier look. Put the pie pan on a non-stick baking sheet to catch any drips and to help it brown better on the bottom to reduce sogginess. Then use a sharp knife to cut some slits in the crust to let the steam escape. If you don't do this, the pie crust could crack. It won't look as pretty if it cracks, and the juices might boil out of the cracks and your pie won't look as pretty. Baking the pie on the lowest rack of the oven for the first 15 minutes browns the bottom. The pie pan rests on a non-stick baking sheet to help catch any drips if the filling boils over. After 15 minutes, shift the pie to the middle rack and finish baking. Remove the pie from the oven and cool it on a wire rack at least 4 to 6 hours to let it firm up. This means that if you're serving pie for dinner, you should bake it that morning. And here it is, a delicious old-fashioned cherry pie that your family will love and your guests will truly appreciate. You will find lots of other pie recipes in my book, 1000 Gluten-Free Recipes. Enjoy your pie.